IS-2. The Soviet Sledgehammer. That broke the Panzerwaffe. The Tiger Fear. The year is 1943. And the Soviet Union is bleeding. On the Eastern Front, the most brutal theater of war in all of human history, something new has arrived. Something the Red Army's tankers have never faced before. Something that tears through their armor like paper and laughs at their guns from a kilometer away. The Panzerkampfwagen 6 Tiger I. And alongside it, the sleek, slope-armored ghost of the Panther. Together, they have turned the T-34, the pride of Soviet industry, into a coffin on tracks. Soviet tankers call it simply, the Tiger Fear. Tigerboyism. A paralysis that spreads through crews the moment they hear that distinctive, low-frequency rumble. Because they know their 76mm rounds will bounce. They know the Tiger's 88 will not. After the catastrophic losses at Kursk, Stalin demands an answer. Not a political answer. Not a propaganda answer. A steel answer. The directive is simple and brutal: build me something that can kill a tiger. The engineers at the Chelyabinsk-Ural Heavy Machine Building Plant, CHTZ, which the workers have renamed Tankograd, Tank City, work around the clock. What emerges from those frozen, frantic factories will change the course of the war. They name it after the man who ordered it. The Iosif Stalin II. The IS-2. And it is not elegant. It is not precise. It is not even, by German standards, technically sophisticated. It is, however, terrifying. Section 2, the 122mm D-25T Beast, Scalpel vs. Sledgehammer. To understand the IS-2, you first have to understand a fundamental philosophical divide between how Germany and the Soviet Union approached tank killing. The Germans believed in the scalpel. The Tiger's 88mm KWK-36 was a masterpiece of ballistic engineering. High muzzle velocity, 773 meters per second for the standard AP round. Exceptional accuracy at range. A flat trajectory that made it devastatingly precise. At 1,000 meters, it could put a round through the exact same hole twice. It was designed to reach into a tank at distance and destroy it with surgical, controlled lethality. The Soviets believed in the sledgehammer. The IS-2's main armament was the D-25T, a 122mm rifled gun derived from the A-19 field artillery piece. Let that sink in. The Soviets took a field howitzer and put it in a tank. The round it fires weighs 25 kilograms. 25 kilograms of steel and explosive moving at 795 meters per second. Now here is where Soviet doctrine becomes fascinating, and where many Western analysts miss the point entirely. The IS-2 was not principally designed to defeat Tiger armor through penetration. It was designed to kill Tigers through kinetic catastrophe. A 122mm high explosive shell that fails to penetrate still delivers a shockwave measured in tons of force. It doesn't need to go through the Tiger's 100mm front plate. A near miss can crack welds. A direct hit on the turret face. Even a non-penetrating hit can blow the turret off its traverse ring, jamming it permanently. The crew inside experiences what can only be described as being inside a bell struck by God. Technical specifications, comparative armament. German 88mm KWK-36, Tiger I muzzle velocity, 773 meters per second proj, weight, 10.2 kilograms. Soviet 122mm D-25T, IS-2 muzzle velocity, 795 meters per second proj, weight, 25.0 kilograms. Kinetic energy ratio, 122mm delivers approximate 2.4 times the energy of 88mm. Soviet after-action reports from 1944 describe Tigers found on the battlefield with turrets displaced, crews dead from concussion and spalling, the tank structurally intact but utterly combat ineffective. The IS-2 had not punched through them. It had simply unmade them. This is the Soviet doctrine-made steel: you do not need finesse when you have force enough to reshape the world. Section 3, the Armor Evolution, the 1944 model. The first IS-2s that rolled off the lines in late 1943 were formidable, but imperfect. The original hull design, the so-called stepped Glacis, featured a complex, multi-angled front plate. Effective, but with a critical flaw: the sharp lower front corner created a shot trap, a geometry where incoming rounds could be deflected downward into the more vulnerable lower hull. The Soviet engineers noticed. They corrected. And in doing so, they produced one of the most elegantly armored vehicles of the entire war. The IS-2 model 1944. The redesigned hull features a unified, single-slope Glacis plate, 120 mm of rolled homogeneous armor, set at a 60-degree angle from vertical. The mathematics of this are brutal in their simplicity. A round striking armor at an angle doesn't just have to push through the nominal thickness. It has to defeat the effective thickness. The amount of armor the round actually travels through given the slope. At 60 degrees, 120 mm of physical armor presents an effective thickness of approximately 240 mm of flat armor equivalent. 240 mm. Armor penetration analysis, IS-2 mod. 1944 vs Tiger I 88 mm. IS-2 Glacis, physical 120 mm RHA at 60 degrees equals 240 mm effective. Tiger 88 mm KWK 36 penetration at 1000 m, 110 mm of vertical RHA. Verdict: at 1000 m, 88 mm cannot penetrate IS-2 front Glacis. IS-2D 25T penetration at 1000 m, 160 mm of vertical RHA. Tiger front hull armor, 100 mm at 10 degree equals 102 mm effective. Verdict: at 1000 m, IS-2 can penetrate Tiger front hull. The Tiger's 88 mm, at combat range, at 1000 meters, cannot reliably defeat the IS-2's front Glacis. The IS-2's D-25T, at that same range, can go through the Tiger's 100 mm frontal plate. Let that asymmetry register. In a straight, frontal engagement at 1000 meters, the IS-2 holds the advantage. The Tiger must close range, must maneuver, must find the flanks and the rear, the 80 mm and 82 mm side armor that the D-25T treats with contempt, to kill what it was supposed to dominate. The Tiger's 88 can still kill an IS-2. Through the turret face, 100 mm of armor at a less favorable angle. Through the lower hull. At close range, under 500 meters, the geometry shifts. But the comfortable dominance that Germany enjoyed with the Tiger in 1943? The IS-2 has erased it. Section 4. The weakness: two-part ammunition. Nothing in war is without cost. The IS-2 pays for its power in time. The D-25T fires separate loading ammunition. This is the critical design compromise, and it stems from a straightforward physical reality. A single fixed 122 mm round would be so long and so heavy that no human loader, in a tank turret, could handle it. So the shell, all 25 kilograms of it, and the propellant charge are loaded as two separate pieces, one after the other. In practice, an experienced IS-2 crew can achieve 2 to 3 rounds per minute. In ideal conditions, perhaps 4. Compare that to the Tiger I's crew, who could fire the 88 mm at 6 to 8 rounds per minute. In a fluid engagement, the kind of fast, chaotic, close-range fighting that defined the Eastern Front, that rate of fire gap is not an inconvenience. It is potentially a death sentence. Rate of fire, comparative. Tiger I, 88 mm KWK 36 6 to 8 rounds per minute. IS-2, 122 mm D-25T. 2 to 3 rounds per minute, optimal. Ammunition stowage: IS-2, 28 rounds total, 28 shells plus 28 charges. Implication: Tiger fires 3 times faster, critical in close engagement. Soviet doctrine acknowledged this limitation and built around it. IS-2 crews were trained to use their protection and their first strike capability, not to slug it out in rapid exchanges. The IS-2 was a sniper with a sledgehammer, make the first shot count, because the second one may come too late. There were other weaknesses. The onboard ammunition stowage, 28 rounds, was modest. The gun's semi-automatic breech was reliable but temperamental in extreme cold. The optics, while adequate, were not in the same class as the German Zeiss equipment fitted to the Tiger. And the IS-2 had another vulnerability that its crews learned to fear: its fuel. The later models ran on diesel, safer than the petrol that turned T-34s into flame tombstones. But the external fuel tanks, added to extend operational range, were notorious for catching fire when struck. Tankers called them chemodani, suitcases. And a burning suitcase could kill you just as dead as an 88. But these are the compromises of war. No weapon system is perfect. The question is not whether the IS-2 was flawless. The question is whether, on balance, it was decisive. The rubble of Berlin answers that question. Section V, The Road to Berlin, Breakthrough and Urban Dominance. By 1944, the IS-2 has found its battlefield role. And it is not the one its designers originally envisioned. Yes, it can kill tigers. Yes, it can hold the front against the Panther. But what the IS-2 does better than any other armored vehicle of the war, what it was born to do, is break through. Breach. Demolish. Clear the way for the infantry and the lighter armor that follows. During the Vistula-Oder offensive in January 1945, Soviet IS-2 heavy tank regiments spearhead a breakthrough that covers 500 kilometers in just 23 days. It is one of the most dramatic armored advances in military history. German defensive lines, carefully prepared, well supplied, commanded by experienced officers, are simply overwhelmed. The IS-2's 122mm gun reduces fortified positions and concrete bunkers to rubble in ways that lighter tanks cannot dream of. And then comes the Oder River. And beyond it, Berlin. The assault crossing of the Oder in April 1945, part of the Seelow Heights operation, is a nightmare of anti-tank fire, artillery, and desperate German resistance. IS-2 crews take catastrophic losses. Some regiments lose 40% of their vehicles in a single day. But they cross. They hold the bridgehead. They let the armies through. And then Berlin. Berlin in April 1945 is not a city. It is a labyrinth. A fortress of rubble, broken masonry, and fanatical SS defenders armed with Panzerfausts. The Panzerfaust, the disposable anti-tank rocket, is deadly to any tank at close range. In narrow streets, with ambushes from basements and upper floors, even the IS-2's thick armor can be defeated. Soviet commanders adapt. IS-2s advance with infantry close escorts, soldiers clearing buildings before the tank rolls past. The 122mm gun is elevated and depressed at angles it was never designed for, blasting defenders from upper floors at point-blank range. Entire building facades collapse under sustained fire. This is not elegant. This is not the kind of warfare that fills military textbooks with admiring diagrams. This is reduction. Pure, industrial reduction of everything in the path of Soviet advance. On the 2nd of May, 1945, Berlin surrenders. The last IS-2 to fire in anger does so against a holdout position near the Reich Chancellery. The shell lands. The smoke clears. The war in Europe is over. 11:30 to 12 o'clock. Section 6, Final Verdict, Masterpiece versus Winner. The Tiger I was a masterpiece. No honest historian denies this. It was the product of Germany's finest engineers, built with extraordinary manufacturing precision, armed with one of the greatest guns ever fitted to a tank. It was mechanically sophisticated in ways that still impress specialists today. And it lost. The IS-2 was not a masterpiece. It was complicated to load, cramped for its crew, occasionally unreliable in extreme cold, and it carried fewer rounds than its opponents. By German engineering standards, it was almost crude. And it won. The difference was not technology. It was philosophy. Germany built tanks for a war of elegance and maneuver, tanks that required specialized crews, complex maintenance, and manufacturing time that Germany, besieged from every direction, simply could not afford. The Soviet Union built tanks for a war of mass. Of presence. Of the sheer, brutalizing weight of industrial will. The IS-2 wasn't just a tank. It was a statement. We will absorb everything you have, every Tiger, every Panther, every desperate last division, and we will still have more. History's final armor pen test is not measured in millimeters. It is measured in capitals captured. The Tiger was a scalpel. Beautiful, precise, and ultimately insufficient. The IS-2 was a sledgehammer. And it broke the Panzerwaffe.